There was a girl named Jessie, so the story goes. Because Jessie stammered a little bit, her peers would constantly pick on her at school. While Jessie continued to be harassed, Jessie chose to ignore it because she was extremely shy and unable to react to people who bullied her on a daily basis. Jessie was always depressed and prayed that they would cease acting in this way. For several months, nothing changed, and Jessie continued to be bullied at school by her peers. Jessie was unable to voice her concerns to her family or the school principal over these pupils. As a result, Jessie was subjected to constant harassment. One day, one of Jessie's co-workers made the suggestion that everyone would cease tormenting Jessie if she carried out this action. The suggestion was that Jessie visit a cemetery close to the village during the full moon night. Naturally, Jessie was terrified, but she also wanted to stop being bullied by her co-workers. The students would meet in front of the cemetery gate at midnight. Jessie ultimately had to concede to her companion's request. Jessie was so terrified, yet all she could think about was getting these kids to stop bullying her. When the scheduled time arrived, Jessie and the pupils assembled in front of the cemetery gate. Given that it was winter at the time, the atmosphere was particularly scary. The sky was so cloudy that it felt like we were inside a scary movie, causing our blood to freeze. It's terrible not just because of the eerie environment, but also because of the cemetery's reputation, which is based mostly on rumors. Every full moon night, ghosts are supposed to spread across this graveyard. The students would meet in front of the cemetery gate at midnight. Jessie ultimately had to concede to her companion's request. Jessie was so terrified, yet all she could think about was getting these kids to stop bullying her. When the scheduled time arrived, Jessie and the pupils assembled in front of the cemetery gate. Given that it was winter at the time, the atmosphere was particularly scary. The sky was so cloudy that it felt like we were inside a scary movie, causing our blood to freeze. It's terrible not just because of the eerie environment, but also because of the cemetery's reputation, which is based mostly on rumors. Every full moon night, ghosts are supposed to spread across this graveyard. When Jessie arrived at the graveyard by herself, all of the pupils stared at her and urged her to go forward. Until Jessie let out a loud cry, that is. All of the kids quickly left, leaving Jessie by herself. Jessie's family discovered her lifeless body in the cemetery the following morning while searching for her since she had not returned home. Her clothes were ripped, and her face bore evidence of having witnessed something really horrifying and dreadful. A cheerful and modest family in New York raised a little child named Jimmy. Betty was his mother, and Alfred was his father. Kitty, his younger sister, was also his sister. At 11 years old, Jimmy's favorite pastime was drawing. Jimmy wasn't well liked by my friends when he first started school. Jimmy was teased by some of his bullies, and he did not like what his buddies were doing to him. He was hated by everyone, even his teacher, who teased him for not paying attention to her while drawing. Jimmy was angry when he got home, so his mother asked him, "How are you today?" He did not answer, and Jimmy went to his room crying and feeling depressed, and he stared in the mirror for a short time until something strange happened. He saw his frightening reflection. Then he fainted and was unconscious for 4 hours. Then he woke up crying and screaming, but no one could hear him because of the ghost. Who materialized in the mirror, a ghost that looked exactly like Jimmy. Then, in his room, Jimmy heard a whispering voice telling him, "Don't be afraid, I'm your ghost." Jimmy screamed again, but before he could scream again, the ghost materialized as Jimmy, who was sitting in front of him. Jimmy begged the ghost not to hurt him. The spirit said, "Do not be afraid, but do not make me angry." "Your orders," Jimmy whispered to him in panic, and then the ghost disappeared completely. 5 years later, Jimmy is a teenager. He was fascinated by the stunning girl Lily, but was too shy to approach her. He was angry when he got home because he was so embarrassed that he vomited in front of her when he tried to talk to her. At night, Jimmy brushed his teeth and looked in the mirror and saw his malicious reflection in the mirror. Jimmy fled to his room, but he felt that someone was following him. After a few minutes, Jimmy became calmer. He turned to look at him and saw the ghost in the room next to him. It was a horrific scene, and Jimmy lost consciousness. When he woke up, he discovered that there was a fire surrounding him, so he ran to his family and told them everything. A few seconds later, the ghost appeared and set everything on fire.